move on to health care. The part of the national health care bill that requires all Americans to purchase health care is before several federal judges. What is your position on the part of the health care bill that will force New Mexico residents to buy this type of product?
This is a great question, and I am opposed to the Congress mandating the people of New Mexico to purchase any service under the threat of a tax. This is not a health care issue. This is an issue where New Mexico needs an Attorney General that's willing to stand up for the Constitution. I think it's wrong, and I think that our founders of the Constitution would be extremely upset with what's happening today. If the words no longer mean anything on that Constitution, then why do we have it? We cannot sit back and let other Attorney Generals from across the country litigate whether that bill is constitutional or not for New Mexicans. New Mexicans need a place at the table. I will, in fact, join the lawsuit with the other Attorneys General across the country to fight that. And it's not about health care. It's about stopping Congress from getting involved in mandating citizens to purchase a service under the threat of a tax. To me, it's a violation. They want to cloak it with the Commerce Clause. Well, the Commerce Clause is not that difficult to understand. It's 16 words, 2 commas. I think they're not even very difficult words to read. It's not about the Commerce Clause. It's about the entirety of the sovereign states, and to make sure that each New Mexican knows that we are concerned with less government. That's what the Constitution is about. The Constitution is about saying that the federal government cannot get involved in the states' rights. And we need to make sure that we have an Attorney General that's willing to stand up for that. Because what's next? It's a dangerous precedent. There's a reason why over the last 200 years plus, this has never happened in our state, in the history of the United States. So I'm looking forward to joining that fight because it's necessary and it's needed.
Mr. King?
Thank you. Well, let me say I'm opposed to the funding mechanism that Congress used to fund the Health Care Act. And there's no doubt about that. The issue here, once again, is one of being a lawyer for the state of New Mexico. My client is the state of New Mexico. So I have to do an analysis on any lawsuit, including this one, that says what is in the best interest of my client, the state of New Mexico. So what we've done is I've assigned lawyers in my agency to do the analysis to find out whether it costs us money, whether it creates money, whether it provides better health care for our young people, whether it provides less health care for our young people. All of those kinds of things. Meanwhile, 20 attorneys general indeed have filed a lawsuit in Florida, in the District of Florida, and that case is moving forward. And I think where my opponent is misleading you is in implying that somehow or another, if we don't join the lawsuit, that it's not going to apply in New Mexico. The lawsuit has decided in Florida whether that particular clause is constitutional or not, will apply in all of the states. And the lawsuit in Florida is just the first round. As a matter of fact, you all know that whatever the judge decides in Florida, and actually I understand that the judge made some decisions this last week on the nature of that it was not unconstitutional. I haven't had a chance, we've all been out campaigning, so I haven't had a chance to read the opinion that might have come out from the judge. And I think it's in the preliminary stage. But once that decision's made, it'll go to the Court of Appeals. It'll go to the Supreme Court. That's the area where mostly state attorneys general have weighed in, is at the Supreme Court level, because that's the court that's going to decide whether this is really constitutional or not. But to basically imply that the state of New Mexico has to join now, or this might be constitutional in one state and not constitutional in ours, or vice versa, is not really letting you know what the legal posture of the case is. And so we're monitoring this. When we decide what's in the best interest of the state of New Mexico, what works the best for the state of New Mexico, then we'll represent the state of New Mexico in the case.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chandler?
The problem is my opponent doesn't see the problem with the problem. This isn't about money. This isn't about better health care. This is about a constitution. This is about something that was drafted and ratified by the people for the people. This is about standing up for New Mexicans and the best interests of New Mexicans. This isn't about money. This isn't about health care. And we rely on New York's Attorney General to investigate the State Investment Council. We're going to rely on Florida's Attorney General now to argue whether it's constitutional or not. New Mexico needs an Attorney General that's willing to roll up his sleeves and get in the fight. And I will be that Attorney General. I'm not going to sit on the sidelines and let the other states' Attorneys General advocate what's best and what's not best for New Mexico. I won't ever stick my finger up and wave it in the air to test whether it's beneficial with money, whether it's beneficial with health care. When someone says and mandates the people of New Mexico to do something that's unconstitutional, it's the Attorney General's #1 job to protect and defend our Constitution. And that's what I plan on doing.
Mr. King.
Well, and I have a friend in Arizona who's in a race similar to this in Arizona, and I think she said this the best. She said that the goal should be for the Attorney General's office to make well-reasoned decisions, and not for the Attorney General's office to be a battering ram for the candidate's own personal ideologies. And that's what we're really talking about here, is that as the Attorney General of New Mexico, I can't afford to let my own personal ideologies color what I'm doing in any particular case. And the resources that I might be spending in this case in Florida, I think might better be spent going after internet predators in New Mexico, or helping our senior citizens. We have limited resources here, and so you can take a philosophical point of view, but the truth is, from a legal point of view, the decision in the Florida case, once again, will be binding whether we join this case or not. And so I determined that it was a better use of our scarce resources in New Mexico to deal with internet predators, to go after the scammers for senior citizens, than it was to spend our resources on a philosophical issue, because the legal issue will be determined by the court.